What about you guys? I mean, maybe the attic's not such a great idea.
We're Andy's toys, Woody.
We'll be there for him. Together.
Normally, whenever something is let into our hearts and homes, they come with the understanding that you may falter or stumble, but we'll get through it together. Unless, of course, you start acting like a complete stranger who not only calls us idiots, but then says we were idiots for ever caring to begin with. While Toy Story 4 may never go to such an extreme as spitting in our faces, it might come as close as a cartoon cowboy and spaceman ever will.
Can we agree on just one thing?
What?
That being there for a child is the most noble thing a toy can do.
To really understand why Toy Story 4 was such a letdown, we have to go back and touch base on the original trilogy and the impact it had on an entire generation. The original Toy Story, released in 1995, introduced audiences to Woody, Buzz, and a myriad of toys owned by a child named Andy. It was a pitch-perfect toys-to-life, fish-out-of-water story about recognizing the importance of being part of a family. We follow the newly acquired space adventurer Buzz Lightyear.
I'm Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger, Universe Protection Unit. My ship has crash-landed here by mistake.
As he learns he's a toy and not just crash-landed onto some alien planet. There's a simple beauty in watching him realize how important he is, even if it wasn't in the way he initially imagined. In 1999, Toy Story 2 deepened their stories, particularly Woody's fear of being forgotten. While the first Toy Story focused on Buzz's acceptance in being a toy, the sequel focused on our cowboy Woody having to reckon with the idea that children grow out of toys and he may be left behind.
What's the point in prolonging the inevitable? We're all just one stitch away from here to there.
Yard sale.
The third installment, released over a decade later in 2010, was a masterful and emotionally charged farewell that encapsulated the experience of growing up and moving on. By the time Toy Story 3 premiered, the generation that had grown up with Andy was entering adulthood. Many were the 17 to 23 age range, facing transitions in their own lives. The film's central theme of letting go and embracing change struck a chord with these viewers. They related to Andy and the toys as young adults as much as they did when they were children. The climactic incinerator scene where the toys accept their fate hand in hand was one of the most intense and emotional moments in animated film history. But it was the final scene, Andy passing his toys to Bonnie, that truly solidified the film as the perfect send-off. Andy's quiet goodbye to Woody, his acknowledgement that his childhood had come to an end, felt like a reflection of the audience's own experiences. It was a moment of closure, a definitive ending that left viewers with a bittersweet yet satisfying sense of completion. Because that's what good stories and series do. These are stories with the intent to educate, entertain, encourage questions about life and relationships. For 15 years, the Toy Story trilogy was a near-perfect examination of coming of age. Quentin Tarantino even named Toy Story 3 one of his favorite movies of 2010.
In the case of Toy Story, the third one is just magnificent. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Then, Toy Story 4 came along and with one quick shove said,
Money, please!
But before we take a whiff of just how badly Toy Story 4 stinks, I want to highlight the much more appealing fragrances available at today's sponsor, Scentbird. The way we smell is an often overlooked part of how we present ourselves, or at least it was for me until I found Scentbird. Using the same fragrance every day made me nose blind to how I smelled to the people around me. But with Scentbird, I'm able to try out over 900 curated fragrances and move about the world with confidence, knowing that I always smell fantastic. This month, I tried out French Riviera from Mansera Paris and Get a Room from Confessions of a Rebel. French Riviera's got this fresh mix of citrus and pepper, while Get a Room has a warmer base of vanilla and clary sage. I just dab a little on my wrists and neck and I'm ready to go. Scentbird's flexible fragrance subscription service means that I can switch up my scent every month without having to commit to a full-sized bottle. Each new fragrance comes in a convenient travel-sized container that lasts me a full 30 days, and before I know it, the next one shows up on my doorstep and I've got a whole new fragrance to try. It's convenient, low risk, and the best part is that it's super affordable. If you're looking to cure your nose blindness like I did and freshen up your scent, scan the QR code on the screen or use the promo code Nerdstalgic2 to get 55% off your first month at Scentbird. You can get your first fragrance for just $8, and the next month it'll only be $16.95. Again, that's Nerdstalgic2 to get 55% off your first month. And now, let's jump back into the video. From the outset, Toy Story 4 felt like an afterthought, a corporate-mandated attempt to wring more money out of a franchise that had already achieved a perfect ending. The film's narrative is entirely unnecessary, breaking the thematic arc established in the first 3 films and shifting the focus in ways that fundamentally alter the core of the series. One of the most egregious aspects of Toy Story 4 is its treatment of Woody. Throughout the first 3 films, Woody's character arc revolved around his unwavering loyalty to Andy and his purpose as a toy, to bring joy to a child. Toy Story 3 concluded this journey beautifully by showing Woody embracing his new role with Bonnie, ensuring that his purpose would live on. But Toy Story 4 betrays this core idea. Instead of continuing to be there for Bonnie, who by all logic should have been Woody's next great companion, he suddenly decides that he doesn't need a kid at all. The notion that Woody, after years of devotion to his owners, would abandon Bonnie to live as a lost toy with Bo Peep feels wildly out of character. It's a decision that directly contradicts everything that made Woody who he was.
He'll be there for you, no matter what.
Then there's Buzz Lightyear, a character who had been Woody's equal on the call sheet in the previous 3 films. Toy Story 4 reduces him to a dim-witted comic relief character, sidelining his development in favor of new characters who add little to the overarching story. Mostly because, like Woody, his arc was completed a movie prior, but instead of respecting that at all, they said, just make him a himbo, but unlovable. His inner voice gag is not only repetitive, but completely undermines the intelligence and growth he displayed in the earlier films.
I have to go.
Where are you going? Why?
Should we all go? Are we going?
No time to explain. Attack!
No time to explain.
Which is slightly better than the disregarded side characters like Mr. Potato Head or Slinky Dog. Everyone is pushed aside to introduce characters that are more product placement and toy ads than characters. And let's talk about Forky.
I want you to meet Forky.
Golly, Bob House. Look how long his arms are.
A literal piece of trash turned toy. On the surface, that's sort of a beautiful idea, upcycling and repurposing, but those aren't the overtones Toy Story 4 is concerned with touching upon. If they wanted to connect with a younger audience, perhaps having them play with new toys would be a solid idea. Generations change because the world changes. Art should reflect that. The rise of digital entertainment, video games, tablets, and streaming has drastically changed how children interact with stories. In addition to missing out on a new generation, they also somehow missed out on the original fans who had grown up with the series. The original Toy Story audience had matured, and Toy Story 3 gave them the closure they needed. Instead of respecting that, Pixar's decision to continue the series felt like a blatant attempt to chase nostalgia dollars without actually understanding what made the franchise special.
I can't believe the nerve of that cowboy. Who does he think he is? Exactly. He was way out of line.
For longtime fans, Toy Story 4 wasn't just an unnecessary sequel, it was a betrayal. It took Woody, a character who had spent 3 films learning the value of loyalty and purpose, and stripped him of everything he stood for. It minimized Buzz, sidelined classic characters like Jessie and Rex, and introduced new characters who lacked the depth and charm of the originals. And now with Toy Story 5 on the horizon, it seems clear that Disney and Pixar have no intention of letting the franchise rest. While Toy Story 4 was unnecessary, a 5th installment just feels exploitative, not just of the characters, but the audience as well. What story is left to tell? Especially with these core characters. The more they stretch out this series, the more they dilute its impact, turning what was once a deeply personal story into another never-ending Hollywood franchise. The decline of Toy Story is emblematic of a larger issue in Hollywood, the refusal to let beloved franchises end on a high note. Franchises like Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and The Lion King have all suffered from similar issues. Stories that once carried weight and emotional depth are now reduced to mere brand extensions. Few animated franchises hold the same emotional weight and cultural significance as Toy Story. Since its groundbreaking debut, Toy Story has been more than just a series of animated films. It has been a coming-of-age story for an entire generation. For those who grew up alongside Andy and his beloved toys, each installment in the series mirrored their own journey through childhood and beyond. Toy Story 3 provided what seemed to be a perfect conclusion, wrapping up the story with heartfelt closure and a message that resonated deeply with fans who had matured alongside these characters. Toy Story 4 wasn't just unnecessary, it actively damaged the legacy of a near-perfect trilogy. It stands as one of the most egregious examples of a studio failing to understand its own franchise. Tarantino, who we mentioned earlier loving Toy Story 3, recently said on a podcast that he'll never watch 4 because the trilogy was already so perfect.
You literally ended the story as perfect as you could.
Right.
So, no, I don't care if it's good. I'm done.
A great story knows when to say goodbye. And well, that's it for this video. But before you head out, make sure you check out today's sponsor, Scentbird. Use the promo code Nerdstalgic2 to get 55% off your first month and start smelling your best. And what do you think? Are you excited at all for Toy Story 5? Let us know down in the comments below some other franchises that overstayed their welcome. As always, thank you so much for watching Nerdstalgic.